Hey guys, it's Tina here. Welcome back to Best in Beauty, a series where I take you to the most popular places for your beauty needs. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, today we will be covering hair transplants. The concept of hair transplantation has been around since the 1950s, and the procedure has evolved and advanced over the decades. Some YouTubers that have gotten this done include Jeffree Star, Nikita Dragon, and Zach from the Try Guys. For those of you who aren't familiar with the procedure, it involves moving existing hair from one place to another, usually to treat thinning areas, bald patches, and lowering hairlines. Now, my partner Alfred has been wanting to get a hair transplant for a while now. He's always been concerned about his hairline, and so last month, after a lot of research, he got it done in South Korea. I have Alfred here, and it's been exactly 1 month since he got his hair transplant, and so I wanted to just recap the whole procedure and your experience. And so let's start off with why you wanted to get a hair transplant in the first place.
Yeah, so I've always had a big forehead, also known as a 5 head, and my hairline has been quite high, especially like around the corner areas.
Yeah.
It's just been something I've been really conscious about, I guess, and so when I heard about the procedure, it got me really curious.
Yeah, and now there's a couple of reasons why you specifically chose South Korea to get it done.
Well, South Korea has the highest plastic surgery procedures per capita in the world, which means the surgeons there would generally perform more procedures, meaning they're more experienced and there's less chance of them botching up my hairline.
Yeah, and then because they have so many clinics there, their price is really competitive as well. And also, I remember us watching a YouTube video of Happy from We Fancy. He documented his experience of getting a hair transplant in South Korea.
Yeah, and his hairline concerns were really similar to mine. So when I watched his video and saw the results that he got from his transplantation, I was really impressed by it.
And so we ended up contacting the same guys who helped Happy with his surgery, Seoul Guide Medical, and they helped us book the consultation and the surgery in Gangnam.
So the clinic I went to was called Root Hair Transplantation in Gangnam, and it's one of the best hair transplantation clinics in Seoul. When we arrived, the check-in process was pretty standard. We just had to fill in a couple of medical checklists, and then it was time to see the surgeon.
오늘 수술 들어가기 전에 궁금한 게 있으시다면 먼저 대답을 해드릴게요. 좋아하는 운동 있으세요?
Not really, no.
만약 좋아하시는 운동이 제가 예를 드는 게 축구나 수영이나 격투기라면 전 무조건 한 달은 하지 말라고 합니다. 왜? 그
He won't do that for
운동은
longer than a month, don't worry.
Can you say 2 months? Can you say 2
He
months?
won't do that for a year.
언제부터 다시 업무에 복귀는 하세요?
Boss?
I'm the boss, so he can...
언제든지.
During the consultation, we discussed with the surgeon what I wanted my new hairline to look like and the method of transplantation. Now there are 2 methods, FUE and FUT. FUT is also known as strip transplantation and involves cutting a strip along the back of the head and used for the transplantation.
With this method, typically it leaves a very long scar and it's a much older method. However, there is a new method.
FUE, which is what I went with, it involves extracting the follicles at the back of the head one by one. And with this method, the scarring is quite minimal and you hardly notice anything once your hair grows out at the back. And then he checked the back of my head where he was going to be extracting the hair follicles from. He also measured the proportions of my face to determine what the new hairline should be and took a bunch of photos before the surgery, and off to the surgery room I go.
When we got into the surgery room, I was filming everything whilst Alfred was laying on the bed, very nervous. But first off, what they did was the nurses actually took Alfred's blood pressure, and then they drew out some blood which they will actually extract the plasma from later on, and that's going to be injected back into the area that the hair follicles will be implanted. This is done to increase the survival rate of the new hair follicles. Numbing cream was then applied onto Alfred's forehead, and then he turned around and the nurses gave him the best haircut ever.
Sarcasm detected. So the lady gave me probably the worst haircut I've ever had in my whole life.
They just
She basically shaved me to the skin all the way up and then stopped. So my hair was completely shaved, and then I had this like crazy hair.
Long patch
Yeah.
at the top. And
I said it looked like fry tuck.
it was fryer tuck inverted. No, but they didn't shave all the way. They kind of left it a little bit so that the surgeon can go in and extract it. And so they had to shave at the area, and then they taped off the rest of Alfred's hair. That area was then disinfected and anesthetic was injected into that area. Did it hurt?
Oh yeah, I would say that out of the whole procedure, the applying of the anesthetic was probably the most painful part. But the pain varies for people. A lot of people say it didn't hurt at all. To me, the pain was probably like a 3 to 4.
A 3 to 4 out of...
Because I'm a... Yeah, so it was very uncomfortable. But having said that, it was only like a couple of minutes, so it wasn't that bad.
FYI, there were a lot of needles. I was filming and I was like, oh wow, that is a lot of needles. Now guys, this next part, it is going to get a bit bloody, but I'm actually not going to feature the full-on surgery footage. I think I will upload another video just in case they demonetize this video on YouTube. So if you guys are game enough to see the actual full-blown surgery where there is going to be a lot more blood, I will leave the link in my description box below. But for this video, it's going to be quite PG-ish. The surgeon actually injected saline in that area to puff it up so that when he extracted the hair follicles, it would kind of like be I don't know, raised up a little bit more so he can see each hair clearly.
Yeah, so now because the anesthetic was in full effect on the back of my head, it didn't hurt, but I could definitely feel like there was like this real tightening in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Like the back of my scalp was about to explode.
Ugh.
But it didn't hurt, but it just felt weird.
So once the area was all prepped and swelled up with saline, the extraction began. The surgeon used a handpiece tool to puncture the follicles, and then the nurse used tweezers to extract them out. As the nurse was pulling out each graft, she was also counting the number of hairs that's being extracted using a foot switch counter. So every time she pulled one out, she would step on it and that would be one graft. This is to help them keep track of how many grafts they end up pulling out at the end of the extraction process. The extracted grafts are placed into a container and then passed on to 3 other nurses at the back whose job is to separate each graft one by one and prep it so that it can be implanted into the new area later on.
So it went on for 2 hours and I was literally face down the entire time, and there wasn't like even a hole, you know, for...
Yeah, so it's not like a massage table
No.
where you get to like look down at the ground
It's just
or anything.
a elevated pillow, but I was staring into a deep dark nothingness for 2 hours. So it was very boring, and because the pillow was elevated, my neck was kind of like in this weird position for 2 hours. So I got a bit of a, I guess, neck cramp.
Yeah.
It was quite uncomfortable. I wouldn't say it was a comfortable experience, but there was no pain because of the anesthetic. I mean, I couldn't feel any pain, but I could definitely feel like there was an extraction, like something happening. Like it was like something poking in my head.
You feel the pressure.
Constantly, but no pain.
Yeah.
And I could just feel it going from one side all the way to the other. And because I had nothing to do, I was really bored, it just felt like forever.
It felt like eternity. Well, I was filming it and oh my gosh, I was just like, that is a lot of blood. I'm like,
and I was like, is it bad? Tell me, is it bad? You can tell me.
and I was like, oh no, you're doing fine, you're doing fine. But I was like, almost gonna have a heart attack, guys. I was like, that is a lot of blood.
How does it look?
You look like a strawberry.
I look like a strawberry.
Yeah. Exactly like a strawberry.
Nice.
I love strawberries. I don't know if I love that one though. And the nurses did mention that Alfred, he actually bled a lot more than regular patients.
I wouldn't stop bleeding.
Yeah, so there was just like a lot of excess blood that even they weren't used to. Once the extraction was done, the back of Alfred's head was bandaged up. They placed gauze underneath to absorb any of that excess blood. And can I just say, you look super sexy right now.
Oh, thank you.
Then Alfred turned and faced upwards, and the surgeon was ready to start with the implantation of the new follicles. He redrew the new hairline, and Alfred double checked again to see if he was happy with that. Once everything was confirmed, anesthetic was injected above his eyebrows where the numbing cream was placed before. Now, why they injected the anesthetic here and not up here in the hairline is because you have like two nerves here and you need to block out those nerves, and that's why they put the numbing cream before, because I was like, wait, he's not getting his hair transplanted all the way down here. Why are they injecting him there? And so they explained that was the reason. And this was like the part that I was just like, what the heck is going on? So when the doctor injected the anesthetic above Alfred's eyebrow, it sort of like bulged up and he looked like Hellboy. He had these like two bumps on his forehead, and you were asking me like, do I look okay? Like, and I'm just like, yeah, like that looks perfectly normal when it didn't.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, I hope that goes down, because...
So the entire time, I thought that they injected my hairline, and for some reason the nerves in my head was sending signals, and it felt something there because it felt really tight. And I also thought, that's really strange. Why would it feel really tight here? So I just thought it was like a nerve reaction, but no. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw the footage. I was like, what?
You were like, what happened there? Anyways, once that area was numb, more saline was injected on the forehead.
So the reason why they injected saline into my head was to sort of elevate the front of the head a bit more, like sort of expand it a bit. And that makes it easier for the surgeon to implant the follicles into my head.
Now, do you guys remember the blood that was drawn for the plasma in the beginning? That plasma was then like squirted onto the hair follicles, and honestly, like seeing the hair follicles all laid out like that, it reminded me of like a fish market for some reason, like little fishies all lined up for sale. Really odd and weird. So they saturated that with the plasma and then injected some of the plasma back into Alfred's scalp, which helps to increase the survival rate of the new follicles being implanted. After that, the hair grafting began. So the doctor inserted the graft one by one, whilst 2 or 3 nurses were loading each follicle into the needle thingamajiggy. Not sure what that's called. But guys, they were really fast. It was like a full-on production line. Like all the nurses had the little follicles in the back of their hand, and they were just like loaded into the needle tool. And the doctor, he would just like grab it and puncture it into Alfred's scalp, and then onto the next one, onto the next one. And that continued for like, I don't know, 2-3 hours.
Yeah, I wondered what it was doing, because when I was face up, again, they covered my eyes, so I could see nothing. I could only sort of listen and feel what was happening, and it was going so fast. The doctor was puncturing my head so quick that I actually thought he had like a gun that had all my follicles in it. But then watching the footage, it was just the nurse replacing like a little pen in his hand. As soon as he's done with it, he's on to the next, and it was really, really fast.
The whole procedure is actually quite labor intensive. I know that there are machines that can extract hair follicles that some other clinics use, but we were told that extracting it by hand and doing it by hand, that's the best method, because
the machines aren't perfect
yet. Yeah, at least with the surgeon's skill, it could be like quite exact, whereas with robots, it's still a hit and a miss sometimes. Now, whilst Alfred was getting the implants in, I popped out to get some towels, because I was advised that night Alfred's head could possibly bleed and, you know, kind of like leak onto the pillows, because he did seem to bleed a lot more than regular clients. And then I got you like a top as well, because you can't like get undressed and have anything that just like touches the hairline, and so I had to buy him like a button-up top. Too large. Mission accomplished. 3 3,200 grafts later, Alfred had a new hairline. Oh my god, you finished really quick.
Really? No. I fell asleep, so I lost track of time.
You fell asleep?
It was much more comfortable than when I had my face down.
No pain at all for that part?
No. I mean, the anesthesia is wearing off at the back, so it's getting a bit sore. So my butt is a bit sore because they jabbed me with some antibiotics.
They injected it into your buttocks?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was pretty much it for the procedure. I was given a bit of medicine to take and told to go back to the hotel to rest. So that night of the surgery, I was advised not to wash my hair at all. So it felt really crusty, like especially up here. And yeah, sleeping wise, I guess it wasn't the most comfortable because I could feel like a massive bandage on the back of my head, and it just felt like it was, you know, battered and bruised. It's been through some sort of battle, and yeah, there was pressure on it, so it was quite uncomfortable. And I guess the anesthetic was still applied and it was slowly wearing out, so I was starting to like feel a bit more discomfort, so I hardly slept that night.
The next morning we went back to the clinic to get Alfred's hair washed, and they also showed him how to wash his own hair, plus gave him like a spray on shampoo, because you're not actually allowed to touch the new grafted areas because that could make them fall out. And so it was really important to just use a spray on shampoo, and even when drying your hair, you can't use anything that's too hot. You have to have your hair dryer on a cool setting. And so all that aftercare was explained on the second day, and Alfred was given the shampoo spray and another rejuvenating hair spray that he would have to continually spray 4 to 5 times each day. They also did a LED light therapy treatment on Alfred's scalp, which is apparently going to help with the healing process.
After that, we met up with Happy from We Fancy to check out his results in person.
He's not hiding anything. He's
no, this was just a fashion decision today. I guess it would actually be a pretty good representation because it's all flat right now. Before I had this Vegeta thing going on, so this right here, that's normal. But from here on, it would just maybe be a little bit like here, and then it would start going back. And so whenever I pulled my hair back, I would look like I had a giant forehead. And now, I still have a giant forehead, but at least it's like, it's nice. It goes like that.
Yeah, it goes.
So it goes down instead of going up and then down.
Have you colored that area too?
Yes, I've bleached it out of my hair, but I tell them not to go all the way to the scalp.
We also spoke to Yemin, who is one of the staff at Seoul Guide Medical. She actually got her hair transplant done a couple months prior. And I was just looking at her hair and I couldn't tell because I literally thought you just had a lot of baby hairs.
So basically, wherever you can see the baby hairs now, all these areas were empty before. So my previous problem, I can say previous concern, was the front area.
And then I saw the back of your head as well. Like I couldn't even see the scarring, the hairs have grown back. Like everything looks pretty normal. Are you happy with your result?
I really like it, to be honest, And most of my friends, they said it looked very natural.
But it is day 3 of Alfred's hair transplant. How are you feeling?
I feel a lot better. Sleeping wasn't much of an issue last night. Actually, I slept a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
And I'm surprised you're not actually swollen in the face.
No, not swollen at
okay,
all.
maybe it'll happen tomorrow, but we just got to keep ice. Did you ice it today?
No. I want to ice it.
Okay. Anyways, so we've got to spray this root spray. We call it the fertilizer. So Alfred's supposed to spritz this on like 4 to 5 times a day. The more the better. It's pretty much like nutrition for the new hairs to make sure that they have a better chance of surviving. And I'm just going to spritz this on.
It feels so good.
2 weeks later, we went back to the clinic for Alfred's final checkup, and then he also got the light therapy treatment done again, and everything was going well. Like, he healed really fast, and surprisingly, Alfred didn't bleed much afterwards at all. Like, you were fine.
And now it's been exactly 4 weeks since the surgery, and this is the new hairline. You can still notice it, I guess. Clearly that wasn't there before.
So this section here is all the new hair grafts. Alfred's hairline, if you turn to the side, used to come all the way back, and he would have like a quite high corner. So that's kind of like all filled in now. From the front, the hairline is lowered just a little bit, but Alfred was complaining to me before saying like, I should have went lower, I should have got more grafts. I would have preferred if my hairline was like down to here.
Yeah, I guess there is a limit to what the surgeon can do, and it is possible to lower it, but he may not be able to get that density, so it might not look natural. So, you know, in hindsight, I guess this is the much safer way to go. This was my main concern anyway, and that seems to be filled out quite nicely, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Now, Alfred's hairline is still healing, and actually in maybe a couple more weeks or even a couple months, those hairs will actually fall out, but the root like will stay, and then new hair will actually grow through, and that's gonna be like, I guess like the permanent hair, because right now that hair is just the same hair taken from the back. Once the roots are implanted, that's gonna grow out, fresh hair is gonna come, and then that's gonna be a lot stronger, and you'll be allowed to like touch it, style it, you know, do whatever you want to it. But now it's still quite fragile, so Alfred hasn't been allowed to touch his hairline. He hasn't been allowed to wear a hat or anything.
No styling, no hats, so it's been very awkward for me. I'm actually dreading the moment that the hair follicle falls out, because knowing me, I'm just gonna freak out.
You're gonna be like, no!
It's failed, my hair's falling out.
So the best results will be seen a year from now, I guess. So
I was told that it's gonna be a year. It's gonna be a very long process. But you know, seeing Happy's hair a year later, it looks quite full. I'm looking forward to that.
So I guess that's it to this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions about the procedure, feel free to leave them below, and Alfred or I will try our best to answer it. Also, we'll probably do like a 1 year update if you guys are curious to see the final actual results of the hair transplant. So that will be in the pipeline. But for now, if you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you stay updated with all the videos that I upload. That is it from us. We shall speak to you guys next time. Bye! Later?
I was thinking of something,
What?
but I forgot what I was thinking about.
Isn't that a bit of a pickle?
I remember when we were staring a photo. Don't forget the way you look me in the eyes. And I keep you in my heart. And my heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you coming back.